Good evening, namaskar, and welcome. My name is Peter Abraham, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all to another very interesting final table from the first edition of India Poker Championships Final Table Series, powered by SpartanPoker.com. Yes, I said very twice, and our viewers will soon know why. But we're going to kick things off on this broadcast with a quick roundup of yesterday's big game coverage before we get into the final table for that 1 crore guaranteed high roller event. But before getting into all of that, why don't we give you the chance to win a free ticket to experience the excitement of FTS? And here's that question. What are the dates of the first ever Millionaire Series at Spartan Poker? What are the dates of the first ever Millionaire Series at Spartan Poker? Just get onto our Twitter handle at India Poker Champ, type in the hashtag FTS, followed by your answer, your name, and your Spartan ID, of course, to stand a chance to win a ticket into FTS number 16. That's going to happen tomorrow at 2 p.m. We are going to announce the winner during the live stream, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, before we head to today's event, let's go through the actions that unfolded on the virtual felts of the much anticipated 1 crore guaranteed big game tournament. 452 entries showcased their poker skills to reach that final table. And the final table of 8 witnessed some of the best poker hands that we've seen in the course of this series thus far. And to take you through the turn of events, one of the most entertaining and knowledgeable commentators to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, please put together your hands for Sam Razavi.
Me. Sorry. I heard you saying entertaining, affable commentator. I thought that's definitely not descriptions of me, but okay. I guess if I have to, we'll go through some action again today.
Yes. To be back. I forgot to mention humble as well. So welcome, Sam, to the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun. And before we get into this final table of the high roller, let's discuss some of the more exciting moments from that 1 crore guaranteed big game that took place yesterday. Now, the players, of course, we had a look at who won it. We'll come to that winner as well. But the first one to bust out on that final table was Siddharth Khanna, who won 2,44,000 rupees. After him, there was Mohit Goyal, who finished in 7th position to take home 3,32,000 rupees. Ishan Kapoor busted in the 6th position and won 4,52,000 rupees. And I know you caught the action a little bit, while you weren't part of the broadcast yesterday. You did stop by and have a look at the action. They were dropping like flies in the first, I think, maybe 25 minutes. They were just dropping like flies.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen action like it this week. I thought it's going to slow down. We started off at the beginning of the week with a final table that was probably record time in my whole career that I've seen it. And the next day we thought, well, this is a bit deeper. It won't take so long. And it's just been fast and furious action. So
Yeah, in fact, it sort of reminded me of that whole coffee thing that we were doing, that it didn't even last a cup of coffee. And I thought the way it started this big game final table, I thought we're in for another quick one, but clearly not, as was the case eventually. We had the ever fun name of Bang Bang 99, aka Srihari Bang, who was the next elimination on that final table. He held his ground for a fair while, Sam, and came eventually in fifth position. But there were a lot of hopes being pinned on him to run even deeper. But there's only so much you can do with a bit of a short stack.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes events dictate, and like you said, there's really only so much you can do. And he fought a good fight, but sometimes it's just not meant to be.
Yeah, well, his sting will be soothed a little bit with that prize money of 5,92,000 rupees that he got. Following him in the fourth position elimination was Ashwin Varghia, and he won 7.5 lakh rupees for his efforts in that final table. And then there were three. One of the favorites on this final table was actually someone who has made another final table before this, who we did commentate on, and that was Sagar Chaudhary, aka Strange Play. And Sam, I mean, true to his online moniker, Sagar made some really strange plays, but he got to that final table all right.
Strange play, normal play, whatever you want to call it. I have to tell you, Kevin McPhee, actually, after he commentated on that final table, he actually messaged the WhatsApp group saying he was really pumped to go and start playing online because of the action he'd seen. So if you can inspire one of the biggest names in poker to get online by watching your play, then you're definitely doing something right, and you should be proud of it. So great finish in third place.
Absolutely. And for his efforts, Sagar Chaudhary took home 9.28 lakhs for finishing in third position. And then it was finally down to the heads up between two players, one of whom was everyone was picking to be the favorite to win that title. And of course, that was Karthik Ved playing as the Internet Kid. Karthik's got a very, very enviable resume, both in online and in live poker tournaments. And while he had the reputation and, of course, the experience behind him, it was Dhirendra Kumar who finally came through as the winner of this big game tournament. Karthik Ved, who played a really solid game. And Sam, I think there were some ridiculous swings from the chip stacks right at the start of the heads up. In fact, heads up went on for probably close to an hour, but it could have all finished in like one hand. Because the first hand that these two guys played, pocket aces of Karthik Ved versus the ace 10 of Dhirendra Kumar. And Dhirendra eventually won it because he made a straight with that 10. And I think when we were in commentary at that point in time, all three of us were like, okay, there goes another really quick final table. But then things changed. The momentum went Dhirendra's way. And it was a really hard fought battle that both these players sort of went through with some serious swings on the chip stacks.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially, I mean, very well played to the winner to go up against someone like Karthik Ved. I've played against him myself. One of the most fearless and ruthless and aggressive players you're going to come across.
So Dhirendra Kumar, yeah, he was really, I mean, he impressed all of us in the commentary booth. The way he went about his game, played very, very solid poker. There was absolutely nothing that, in fact, Kevin McPhee mentioned this, as did Ramesh Totapalli. They said that he played nearly flawlessly because there wasn't any kind of a serious mistake or goof up. For that matter, even Karthik Ved, of course, his tremendous experience coming into play. But both players not really taking any missteps, so to speak, in the course of their play.
Good to see a proper bit of cat and mouse heads up play and see some proper poker from some two really excellent, talented players.
Fantastic performance by the young player, and he takes home 19.49 lakhs for his efforts. Really big money up top, and he's also the proud owner of that 18-karat gold medallion. So yeah, it's like money on money here.
Yeah, I mean, all I keep hearing is this 18-karat gold medallion, and I've got a really hairy chest, and that would just go when I dress up on a Friday night and I sing down my local pub as Tom Jones, it's not unusual to be loved by anyone. That medallion would go lovely. I can't wait for live poker to start up again and IPC to introduce this medallion for live winners.
We'll hope that all of that keeps happening sooner rather than later on the live circuit. Well, that was it for the coverage from that 1 crore big game tournament. And now we look at a really big day today. It's the final table of the 1 crore guaranteed, yet another 1 crore guaranteed prize pool, which was surpassed, in fact. And this is the Highroller, which eventually finished up having 1.17 crores in the prize pool. And it's now down to the final 6.
Ever since high rollers were introduced to India, they've attracted great crowds, and it's the fact that the recreational players just are fearless. They don't mind buying into this tournament. That in turn attracts pro players because they see some perceived value in there. It's not just a tournament full of pros, and you end up with these monster fields. So yeah, it's fantastic.
In fact, I was talking about this with my colleague from the IPC, Samir Ratansi, not too long ago. We remember those years when the IPC live event was just in its nascent stages. And for us, the goal was, we wanted to kind of get to the level that Macau was at, where the Red Dragon buy-in was, about the same buy-in that the Highroller event currently is. And of course, the Red Dragon is the main event there. And I think India is getting ready to become more used to the fact this Highroller buy-in, which is about 80,000 rupees, I think this might be the main event buy-in not too long in the future. So that's, I think, a nice trend that we can see here. Now, Sam, the final table of 6 players at this Highroller event are like the who's who of the Indian domestic poker scene. And I'm sure you'll recognize more than a few names here. I'd just like to tell you that the person who busted out in 7th place, who just fell shy of that final table, was the well-known Abhishek Goendy.
If he's around and about a final table, I'm not surprised that he's bubbled, purely because he's such an action player, and you probably can see him either bubbling or going in with 90% of the chips in play, looking to be the big boss man.
Well, it would be great if we had Abhishek on the tables because, like Sam said, he's quite an action guy, and it would have been quite interesting to see what he would have done amongst this set of 6 players that are there. And he was taken out by Rajesh Singh, who sits at the top of the chip counts on the 6-handed table with a little over 2.2 million in a stack. Now, I'm really glad to see Rajesh Singh, sitting up the top of the count, Sam, because for us guys in the 40-plus club, so to speak, he's quite the flag bearer at this moment, 47-year-old from Bangalore. He's been playing poker since 2014, and he's got a bunch of great finishes, especially on Spartan, having won the Destiny tournament and the Spartan Super Series main event in the past. So a really experienced guy from the looks of things.
Yeah, I think we've got a great mix of online experience and live experience. And yeah, I've just recently joined the 40 club myself. And so, yeah, definitely nice to see him flying the flag. And he'll be feeling really great going into the final table of this caliber, sitting at the top of the chip counts.
Now, Rajesh Singh might be at the top of the chip counts, and he's got a fair lead over the guy who's after him, and that's Raghav Bansal, who's definitely no slouch. Raghav is one of those guys who plays in some of the highest tournaments, the biggest games, not just in India, but across the world. And he's even, in fact, won the IOPC Highroller title not too long ago. So he's right at home in this situation with a stack of just about 1.5 million in chips.
I mean, you're talking Raghav Bansal. This is one of the absolute powerhouses of Indian poker. He burst onto the scene in 2017 in Macau, placing second in a high roller for around 335,000. He came close to winning a bracelet in 2017, finishing third in, if I remember, event 42, the mixed PLO no limit hold'em. I was close to the final table of that one myself. He was all in freeway for the bracelet. He nearly got there. He sits 4th in the all-time money list for India with nearly 1.1 million in earnings. I wouldn't want to be on the table against him.
Well, Aditya Shishant, who follows Raghav Bansal in the chip counts with 1.3 million in chips, might have a thing or two to say about the powerhouse at the table because, well, being the first WSOP bracelet winner from India, has its own special mention in the history of this game in our country. Sam, I think we should have some fireworks with these kind of players at this table.
Yeah, absolutely. Aditya Sushant, again, in his own right, another powerhouse of Indian poker. His first cash came over a decade ago, or roughly a decade ago now. He's been cashing since 2010. And as you alluded to, he holds the biggest honor you can possibly have in live poker, the joint first Indian bracelet winner, winning that elusive bracelet in 2017 in the tag teams event with Nipun Java. And again, just another monster. You wouldn't think he's a monster to look at him. He's a little bit short. He knows I'm just teasing him.
Do bear in mind that Aditya Sushant was also the first ever India poker champion in the year 2010. So lots of things. It could be considered as a very positive omen, right, Sam?
He'd love to take down a massive title at the IPC a decade later in this online form as well.
And in fourth position on the counts is another player who's going to be a formidable challenge for the rest, and that's Sajal Gupta playing as Go Muck Yourself. Sajal has a stack of 1.1 million in chips. He's won the IOPC Two of a Kind title before. This 26-year-old is from the north of India, from Faridabad, in fact, and he's also one of these young, promising players who's done really well for himself on the circuit, Sam.
I haven't heard so much of the more up-and-coming players because, as I've grown older and haven't spent so much time around India, and I think the other players actually have a lot more experience playing online, which I don't follow as much. But all it takes to be at one of these final tables, so I'm sure all players have the skill to take this down.
And we've got another contender, another very big name, in fact, in Jagdeep Singh, who sits at the fifth chip count with a little over a million, playing as Xenos. He's one of the high stakes players that we've ever seen on the circuit, and he considers himself a PLO specialist, plays in all kinds of nosebleed games from what I understand, and he is from the capital city of Delhi.
I do know of him. I think he does play quite a fair bit online for sure, yeah. Right? He plays a lot online, and that's where he likes to entertain his love for high stakes games. And yeah, he's a high stakes aficionado. I know that he's just before lockdown this year, he actually came up with his best live result at the IPC, I believe, a fifth place finish for 22k, something like that. And that's his last recorded live cash. Having that experience online, I think Jagdeep, even though he's slightly further down the chip counts,
you never know.
Yeah, he could strike from the bushes at any moment as well. So.
Right. And coming to the last player in the chip counts, and that's another fairly familiar face on the Indian circuit, Gokul Raj Dharmarajan, who's playing as Super Kings with a stack of 564,000 in chips. He's the winner of the first IOPC Super Highroller tournament for a prize of 28 lakh rupees, which was a really big prize pool at that point in time. This gentleman is from Chennai, and he's been very, very consistent in a bunch of the high roller tournaments that he's taken part in. And I think, Sam, no matter where you are in this chip count, whether you're on the top half or the bottom half, everyone's in with a chance. Everyone seems to have the kind of experience playing these high stakes, and everyone, veers on the side of being absolutely fearless, like you mentioned.
I feel nervous with this lineup, just commentating on it, let alone having to go and sit and play against these players. So I'm glad that I'm sitting on the other side of the fence.
Everyone seems to be someone who could potentially take down this title, no matter what chip stack that they're on. But coming back to Sam and his hairy chest and that gold medallion, let's remind you once again of the guaranteed prize pool that's there for this Highroller event. It's a 1 crore guaranteed prize pool, which has actually been surpassed, and it's now 1.17 crores that these players are playing for. Almost 30 lakhs up top for that winner. And like I mentioned, that 18-karat gold medallion, the winner's certificate, and a special gift hamper going the way of the winner of this tournament. The final table is set. The players are ready. So it's time for that magic drum roll. And let's get started with the final table of this 1 crore guaranteed high roller FTS tournament, brought to you by the India Poker Championship here.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ace deuce. That's so sick, aka Raghav Bansal, who's on the button. Sam, this should be a pretty exciting final table to commentate on. I mean, this is like some serious who's who of poker sitting at the table.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just going to be expecting great things.
And hopefully not so great as well, so that we can have some fun.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we don't want we don't want to be over before it starts, but straight into the action. Ace 10 of spades.
Just to let our viewers know, that's super user, that's Aditya Shushant, who's playing there. On his left is Xenos, Jagdeep Singh. On his left is Super Kings. That's Gokul Raj Dharmarajan.
This is quite an interesting flop here. Top pair, top kicker versus the bare nut flush draw.
Shushant firing out again.
Yeah,
a bit much to see that last card, I think.
Yeah, it's always tempting when you have the nut flush draw. You know you're definitely drawing to the nuts. The ace could potentially be live. I mean, just only calling is not the only option, I guess. You know, you do have, and there we go, raised to 4 million. This is a really tough one. I mean, it's kind of face up. The hands either super strong or you've got the nuts with the ace 10, and wow.
Yeah, you let that go, did Aditya Shushant. Why do I get the feeling that we're going to get an all-in situation happening here? Gokul Raj playing as Super Kings, sitting on that short stack.
Yeah. Although this is a close one because he's got around 23 big blinds. It's kind of an awkward stack to play sevens. You know, if you 3-bet, you're prepared to call off a jam. If you jam, it just seems a bit too much. But yeah, I guess it's not out of the ordinary in today's online climate, and yeah, it's going to pick up the pot there.
Well, he'll be happy to get some chips to play with. Not everyone is necessarily deep stacked at this table, but more chips are always welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely a deeper stacked final table than we've seen, I think, or that I've commentated on this series anyway. So there's definitely a lot of play in it. But this is, yeah, I was going to say this is quite a standard power play here with the ace jack suited, and Super Kings simply can't continue. Yeah. I mean, he's thinking about it. I wonder if he's just wondering. Yeah. Okay. I thought he was going to level himself into calling it off there with the ace-8. Yeah.
There's those scary pocket jacks make an appearance. Rules.
Yeah.
Rules holding those pocket jacks.
Yeah, I always get a shudder down my spine when I pick up the jacks. I'd rather not see them, but of course, yeah, it's a strong hand and standard free bet. And I like the pace at which, the snap fold, there's no messing around.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you often want to see in games. I mean, more often in live tournaments where people are trying to make out they actually have a decision. I like that fast pace, and this should be again fairly standard with the ace queen suited.
I think that also speaks for the kind of players that are there at this table. They are not the sort who just take their own sweet time and do the Hollywooding.
Yeah, I think they've had enough experience to know, there's no messing around. Just, okay, I raise, and I'm not going to continue with this hand. End of story. Let's move on to the next. And they obviously know exactly. These sorts of players are thinking, several moves ahead. So they already pretty much know what they're going to do before their opponents have made their actions. They've got a plan of what they're going to do if they get re-raised, if they get flat called, if they get shoved on. So the action, that helps the action and the pace of the game.
And just to bring our viewers up to speed, the two players who I didn't mention before, go mark yourself. Sajal Gupta sitting there with a stack of a little over 9 lakhs, and the chip leader starting off this FTS final table, Rules, Rajesh Singh, who's playing with a stack of a little over 23.5 lakhs.
Oh, this is a good flop for both Go Mark Yourself and Xenos, and both of them with the pair. Xenos with the best of it and the better straight draw. This is a fairly standard check call down spot, depending on what turns come. I assume the action is going to go pretty much the same on the turn. So yeah, Xenos opting for a bit of pot control, checking back the turn. I don't mind that, given the board texture, because it also, when the board does brick off, it also gives there's a higher possibility you can extract a nice chunky value bet on the river from your opponent. But as it happens, Go Mark Yourself gets there with the straight.
Yep, 1 card straight.
And this is a load of rubbish, isn't it? 3-5, 2-6. I mean,
dealer, change the dealer, like they say in the casino. We need some new decks. We need new dealers.
But having said that, with Raghav in the small blind, this guy can turn. He can turn. Well, there we go. I was going to say he can turn brick into gold. So,
well, he might have a chance once again. 3-10 offsuit. Might just get another chance to do that.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. The lovely 5-6 suited, but a stack just too awkward to open, I think. It's sad when you have to fold those around. And 7 deuce, highly regarded as the worst starting hand in the game, gets a walk, and he'll take that.
Well, besides the pocket queens we'd seen a little bit earlier, and maybe one other hand, there's not been much premium stuff that's been dealt out. So skill, I guess, is what these players will need to use rather than cards.
Yeah, I think especially they've just started up the game. You know, if I'm sure they'll all realise that if this trend of being dealt absolute rubbish goes on for much longer, they're going to have to start changing tactics, but in order to win chips. But at the moment, I think everyone's being dealt you know, fairly bog standard hands, and it's early in the final. It's deep. You can just let them go. Well, nothing for everyone. But I guess Super Kings
still up there.
I mean, a C-bet will get the job done, but it's an awkward. It's not the most favourable board to continue. Well, this is going to earn him a few chips.
It's a nice little fortuitous card for Gokul Raj, aka Super Kings, to get on that turn. And I've just been informed that we will be joined in just a little while by one of the most fun personalities on the Indian poker circuit. He's already doing his little dance. Excited to get on the stream. Let's try and bring him in after this hand. Boy, they're really taking, I mean, he's really taking his time. I'm guessing the third club has also sort of cast a little bit of doubt in his mind.
Yeah, I don't think you won't be folding this for sure. But if another club comes, the thing here with Rules has an ace. He's got no reason to believe his ace wasn't good on the turn. He has no reason to really bluff. If he bets this river, it would be a bluff. So this would most likely go check unless Rules suspects he actually didn't have the best hand on the turn, and he's now going to turn his hand into a bluff. So I see this going check on the end.
And there you have it. Well, let's welcome Dhaval Mughal to the live stream. Dhaval, welcome. Popularly known as Dirty on the circuit.
Hey.
Otherwise, also.
What's up?
We saw some very interesting angles by Dhaval. Well, not Dhaval exactly, but Romit.
Yeah, Romit sold me out.
Yeah. I thought you said it was one of the biggest personalities in Indian poker, a fun player.
No, we're not talking about Romit. We're not talking about Romit. Don't get the size confused.
Just to bring it back to the action for a bit, Gokul Raj has got pocket aces dealt to him, and he's upped the action up to 90,000. And Xenos.
And he's a short stack as well, right? He's a short stack as well. So.
He was much shorter than what he is right now. He's a little under, after that bet that he's put out, he's a little under 800,000, 8.7.
Sadly, too big a bet, really.
Yeah.
I can't justify defending the king three of diamonds for 3x pre-flop facing that raise from under the gun. You could certainly peel off. That's another option.
Yeah. Well, someone's going to be very happy at the end of this hand. I really can't say who, because we've seen some disasters that have gone down. But yeah, if Super Kings knew what hand this guy is free betting with, he'd probably opt to slow play this. But it looks so strong when given Super Kings, has to be opening a tight range from under the gun with his stack size to then under the gun to then be free bet by the big blind. You'd expect that the big blind has something strong, and as it happens,
this feels like a bit of an overreach to me. But with the king 3 to the UTG open, but I'm here. The only way I could make the final table was by trying to join you guys in the commentary booth. So
more than welcome, sir. More than welcome. So,
Yeah.
Dhaval, you've obviously played with a bunch with all of these guys, in fact, if I'm not wrong. So,
Right.
we just wanted to get your take specifically.
Ooh, that's a flop. That's a flop.
We just wanted to
Sure,
get
go on.
your take on, the contenders. I think everyone's a contender here, but who are your picks to sort of, go really deep?
Well, five really top guys, all hardworking guys, all like at the top of their game. One wild card as such, but I see him. He's a hard competitor as well. Rules. I've seen him around on the streets, always making it tough on rivers and stuff. I like all the guys in this lineup, to be honest. But Bansi and Sushi are my boys, so I got to stick with them. I think it's got to be one of them. But like, really, they're all really pretty skilled players and all hardworking players. All put in the hours behind the scenes. So couldn't really be anyone. It's kind of sick to see an awesome FT like this, like for a big flagship event, to actually have just. Oh well, here we go. Oh, we lose Gokul.
All right, so she takes down that pot.
Oh.
I think there's a slight delay in the stream that we're facing here. But with a Queen Jack offsuit, super user makes it 56,000 to go.
Yeah, so Super King's really unfortunate there to have, that's always the danger of playing aces tricky like that. But you can't fault him, and he just got unlucky, losing to a flush on the turn, and that's put him down to less than 3 big blinds. Wow. I mean, I kind of wondering if my eyes are deceiving me there. I think Super User opened and go muck yourself, just piled in 60 bigs with the Queen 10 offsuit, or did he just fold? I don't know.
Went a little too quickly.
Yeah.
Well, he's raised up the action once again. And I'm just looking at some of the social media posts that have been going down because, rightly so, this is a loaded final table. And there was a poll that was put out about who do you think is going to be at the end of this finish line. And the most number of votes, 41 and 40, in fact, Sam, going the way of Raghav Bansal and Aditya Sushant. No surprises there because of the rich resumes both players possess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going in, you'd expect, it's only natural to hedge your bets on those that have a track record of results, but you really can't take anything away from everyone else on this table, who sometimes those results might not be, readily in the public eye, because some players' results have come mainly from online. So
right.
I'm sure everyone here has as equal a chance of winning as could be.
Sorry, I had lost audio. I'm back now, I think.
Yep.
Dhaval, you and losing in poker go hand in hand, don't they? So that's fine.
Clearly.
You just lost again. It's another.
I mean, it's a battle. We're trying to make it every day.
Don't worry, I identify better than you know with that battle.
But so brutal run out for Gokul there. Babaji was not kind, as he says.
Yeah, that was awful. It's a shame, It's so, and the rub down, being left with 3 big blinds. You can't just bust and say, "I lost with aces." You have to sit there,
and then finally tell people that you got busted with Jack 6 off or something, like, which you had to defend for 1.5 big blinds.
Yeah, I called off with the 9 deuce off in the big, and lost. Okay.
Well, at the moment, it's Raghav Bansal with pocket 7s going up against Rules with pocket Jacks.
Rules.
Ugly run out for both hands, but the jacks take it down. Well, this is an all-in and a call. Oh. Well, just wasn't meant to be for Super Kings. Yeah.
And there's another pocket pair right after. Well, when the good players are getting hands like pocket tens, in this case, Raghav Bansal picking up the pocket tens. What does anyone else do?
I think Raggy here, for sure, is going to pull out the cold 4 bet to about 4 million, I guess. Oh, was that a flat?
Two cards out there, ace queen, and now the jack as well on the turn. Not very comforting for Raghav Bansal there. Playing out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just going to go check all the way around. I mean, Xenos can attempt to represent here, and it might eventually get the... Oh!
Wow!
I'm a bit lost because I'm not privy to the cards today, so you're gonna have to talk me through it.
Basically, he got there at the end. The board is showing ace 4, queen, jack, king, and Raghav has pocket tens. He was behind Rules, who had hit his ace on the flop, but the river got him the king and the straight.
You know what Raghav's ID. You know what Raghav's ID is, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's so sick.
He's just slow playing it pre-flop from the start. He's like, if I 4-bet here, they're going to fold. At least let me hit a straight on the river. And then
a great poker player once told me that I never want to flop things. I want to river things. Like, what's the point of flopping something? I want to river it.
Yeah.
That'll do. Just a reminder to all our viewers that we've been running contests earlier in the broadcast, and we will continue to run more contests as we go along. Just a reminder for that last contest question, what are the dates of the first ever Millionaire Series? So make sure you get your answers onto Twitter using the handle @IndiaPokerChamp, the hashtag FTS, your name, Spartan Poker ID, and of course, your answer to that question. And you can win a ticket into an FTS event tomorrow. So stay tuned to the live stream to see if your name pops up on that winner sticker. Well, 2 players getting pocket pairs here. Go muck yourself with pocket 6s. Super user with pocket 4s. But the guy who has nothing has popped up the action. Zeno Smith.
Yeah. And
170.
I doubt that both of them would be trying to get too many chips in with 6s and 4s in such a situation. So it'd be likely that you'd see them calling anyway to the open.
Yeah, actually go muck yourself, folded the 6s, and it's Xenos who's actually 3-bet with ace 7. So
and he hit a 7 on the flop. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be in a bit of a rush to, push the action forward. He's pulled out a couple of questionable 3-bets, to be honest. The 9s, especially from the position, 3-betting with the king 3, whatever it was, from the big after the under the gun, who surely must have a tight range, to say the least, opening off of 20 bigs. I think this. I appreciate the 3-betting. The timing selection seems a bit odd, but look at this.
I think as chip leader, he gets to be kind of carte blanche and just go for it now because there's such big pay jumps. But the first one was a bit strange. But I mean, I guess it's the fine kind of hand blocking ace king kings and stuff to actually go ahead and do it with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm probably looking at it from this. I'm probably
It just
unfairly
feels
looking
it feels more brutal, right? When you know that the other guy has aces, and you're like, what is this guy doing? When he has ace 10 off and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think I'm unfairly looking at it from the point of view of how I approach the final table, I guess, because it's not like it's shallow, and we're talking like we're 20, 30 minutes in, and it's like it's almost like
Yeah.
right, I haven't picked up anything. I'm going to free bet this. I'm going
to be fair, maybe he's thinking that, like, I think a lot of times players do make their adjustments based on the opponents, in the sense that when it's a really, really simple final table, when it's all weak opponents, I'm just not going to try and get out of line and try and take the gifts I'm supposed to get and get value for my hands and things like that.
Yeah.
So when it's a couple of tougher guys who are not just going to just pay you off middle pair 3 streets, then obviously sometimes people might think of making some adjustments, making some slightly putting people more to the test. Maybe that. I mean, I guess this is the way I can try and justify it. But obviously, when you try and smash into aces with king 3, it's never looks great till you win.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point about adjusting. It's like, have you seen that Wile E. Coyote in Roadrunner, where he tries to catch the bird all the time, and it doesn't work, and he has to go back to the blueprints, and that's
all the time. Yeah, exactly.
When you get a final table like this, you have to visit the blueprints before you start up, right?
Well, on that note, Dhaval, thank you so much for joining us on such short notice. We really appreciate the time that
Thanks
you
for having me. Just wanted to make my little appearance at the FTS series on one of the FTs. So have fun, guys. Good luck to everyone.
Thank you so much, man. Cheers.
Great to see you. Great to see you again. Just as he leaves, it's Cooler Central. Look at this.
Yeah. Rolls with the ace king of suit versus Aditya Sushant holding queens. And he makes the call.
And just look at how clean is that run out.
Wow.
Bam.
It would be nice to have that happen every single time you held a nice big pocket pair, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to think it just it'd be idea for a poker like insurance hold'em or something. If you're in a really deep tournament and you find out you get all the money in and it's on their backs and you're in that classic race, you should have a chip where you can, give up some of your chips or something to be able just to not force yourself to take that race. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's like a painful sort of a end to your grind when you sort of get hit by that. So yeah, insurance hold'em. We might just be able to sell this idea to people. Well, for folks who are just tuning in, yes, we've lost one player from the 600 final table of the Highroller event. There's a massive prize up top, almost 30 lakh rupees going the way of the winner. With that gold medallion that Sam is very, very, he's coveting that really hard. And of course, the winner's certificate and a gift hamper as well going the winner's way. It's going to be a close one, I believe, Sam.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be. Oh, wow! Look at this.
Well,
I mean,
every time I say one of these lines, it's like the board or the hands are like just trying to mock me.
So it's going to be a close one. There's going to be lots of play here. How's this? A set and a pair and a gut shot. I mean, there's only there's something for Xenos and Rules here. The other two players are going to be out of the hand, but. Depends how tricky Rules decides to get with it, It's just lost a big pot against Sushi, doubled him up, and, a bit of frustration play might come into it, trying to recover those chips. And if he decides to get tricky with 6-3 here, it's going to be painful.
Yeah, this is going to be really harsh.
I think though Xenos is going to be forced to make quite a large, almost pot-sized bet on the turn, and that's going to be enough to get Rules off the hand.
Yeah,
it's not the kind of board you can slowly draw your opponent in with so many. There's 2 flush draws, a straight draw, and that's a.
Oh wow! Okay.
Well, if that was a 3, that would have.
That would have been.
I like the big over bet slam on the end. If you're going for 3 million, you might as well go for the lock and make it look like bluff or whatever.
Just reeling them the chips into the middle.
Yeah. It's all in, Vince.
Oh man, I'm gonna miss that voice. Boy.
It's just the voice, the voice of poker. Now, I mean, look at this. You know, he can't call, but I've leveled myself into making worse calls. I won't lie. You start defining the hand. You could have ace, queen of hearts, and then on the turn, well, you could have, you know, a straight and a flush draw. Then the deuce comes, and you say, "Well, I hope he had this. I hope he had that." I call. Okay, yeah, he had the house. That's good. Hopefully, no one sees it on the stream.
I like the fact that it begins with what could he have to? Oh, he definitely has that, and then of course it just blows up in your face.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see rules calling here. If he does, I'd put it down to, I'd definitely say some frustration factor would be playing into that after losing that big flip of the ace king.
For people who've just started playing poker, this is what we refer to as tilt. If rules goes ahead and makes that call.
Yeah, I mean, it's borderline, you know, one faction might call it tilt, the other might say, you know, it was a insightful call, but just the wrong call. But a lot of factors play into your head. You're staring at the short stack. You're literally staring at, if I fold this, I've gone from hero to zero. And I mean,
obviously you made the right decision, but yeah, that really, really must have hurt to have lasted that long.
Yeah.
And once again, we see a nice little array of garbage around the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
oh, nice.
Yeah, one man's garbage is another man's treasure, and the 10-3 takes it.
And there's more treasures and more garbage coming up in the very next time. Rolls, though, holding the suited 6-7, decides to pop the action up.
Yeah, given what's happened, I wouldn't mind Xenos putting the pressure back here, but it
doesn't matter.
I think just fold is optimal there. I'd definitely like to opt to raise this against Raggy's big blind because he's a player that's more inclined to try to play shenanigans and put in a big free bet so we can get lots of I mean, I don't know if there's a meta game going on because he knows that Raggy will do that, and he knows that seeing like a 4x raise from the smalls sounds like nonsense too. So maybe he had some big plans for that hand that didn't pan out.
What was that? One of those movie lines? I know that you know that I know that you know that I know. One of those.
Yeah, very aggressive.
Fairly. Well, one of the things that some of our newer viewers might not be aware of was that Gutshot magazine, which is India's exclusive magazine on real money gaming. And of course, we cover games like poker and rummy, as well as esports. Gutshot magazine featured Sam Razavi on the cover several years ago. He was the first ever international pro who was featured on the cover of that magazine. And they are running a little bit of a contest here, which our viewers can check out. And it's as easy as signing up for the new e-magazine that they've launched for the month of November. It got launched yesterday, in fact, and all you need to do is do a one-time sign-up. It's absolutely free to do so, and you get a free access to this edition as well as all the previous editions before. We are running a contest for all of you who decide to sign up for this particular e-magazine. You need to go to read.gutshotmagazine.com, and the 3 lucky winners from the sign-ups that take place today will be given a ticket into FTS number 16, which has a guarantee of 5 lakh rupees. That's going to happen tomorrow, FTS number 16. So sign up for Gutshot. It's absolutely free. Go to read.gutshotmagazine.com and sign up for your free account and access to the magazine's current issue, which features, in fact, a gentleman who had busted on the final table of this event. Sam Abhishek Goindi, of course, playing as Mamba Mentality, was the one who got knocked out in 7th place. So him and his co-founder for Poker Bootcamp India, Tane Hargunane, are on the cover of this November eMag issue of Gutshot magazine. So please go ahead, sign up for that free account, and who knows, you might just get lucky and win a ticket into that FTS number 16 event tomorrow.
Nice.
I still have one of the old issues somewhere.
I was going to say, when you mentioned it, I thought you'd said too much, so I couldn't really come in with the quip. I was going to say, I remember that issue. Have you seen this man, the biggest fish in Asia? If you see him, jump on the table with him. He's easy money.
That was the original title that we went with for the cover, and then we were like, nah, let's just keep But yeah, that cover that Sam Razavi featured on was showcasing his finish at the Aussie Millions, where he took 6th place, I believe, in that particular edition.
Yeah, I think it might have been the ANZPT Melbourne, actually, that I won.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
I remember the black and white striped shirt.
That's right. Yeah, so it was definitely that one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good way to. I mean, there was some nice money that was there for that finish, right? The win.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I was just about to do a deal heads up because the guy was a lovely guy, and then the dealer dealt the. Long story short, the dealer dealt the cards, and when I finished 6th in the Aussie Millions, before I went to Australia, my brother said, "Whatever you do, don't fold King 10 suited." And I folded it, and I would have won a massive hand on the final. And then we were just about to deal the money, and the dealer deals, and I've got King 10 suited. I raise, he goes all in for 30 bigs, and I just snap it off. He's tight as anything, but I said, I'm not folding this time. He had jacks, and first hand of heads up, it was over. So that was fortunate. Yeah, good times.
Well, speaking of King 10, especially the King of Diamonds, we have a gentleman who's finally emerged from his sleep all the way from Canada. We have Kevin McPhee joining us. He'll know a thing or two of winning some titles. Kevin, are you with us?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Peter. I appreciate it.
Has it been a good morning for you? Have you stretched out, got your coffee in there?
Yeah, I'm pretty good now. I had my coffee already. It's a bit early in Canada, though.
All right. So I think you also, Kevin, know a fair few of these guys who are on this final table.
Yeah, it's a pretty star-studded final table. A lot of very familiar names, and that's what you're going to see in 6-max tournaments. Some of the best tournament or best players are going to rise to the cream or become the cream of the crop here. And yeah, we have Aditya Shushant, and he's a good friend of mine and spent a lot of time. I know he's a very, very well-respected player, so I'm pretty excited to see his cards. And then we also have Raghav Bansal, right? That's so sick. And I've been watching the stream so far, and man, there is a lot of action going on here. A lot of really out-of-line 3-betting. I love to see it. It's going to be absolute carnage. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
In fact, when Kevin McPhee was with us on a previous broadcast, he really enjoyed that heads up that went on for a fair while, in fact, and just got the itch back to play some poker once we were done with commentary that day.
Yeah, I just grinded some spin-in golds, I guess. But yeah, we were really rewarded with a fabulous heads-up match yesterday. I mean, it went on a bit longer than it should have, with the aces losing to ace-10. But man, we really got to see some great play, and that was a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, and we should see some more of that happening on this table as well. Quite the who's who of the circuit taking part here. And none of these stacks are, well, Rules, who started as a chip leader, is now the short stack on this table. But it could be still anyone's game, even now.
Yeah, we saw him kind of getting a little stubborn with the 6-3 there earlier against the set and maybe lost a little more chips than he should have. Yeah, it was definitely a difficult spot with a lot of draws out there. He had the gut shot in the middle pair. Well, I guess third pair on the turn. And put himself in a difficult position on the river there and eventually had to fold to the full house of Xenos. But yeah, it's difficult because you don't want to be like a little bit too loose with these turn calls and sacrifice your chip position, because now we see him in a very compromised position right into about 13 big blinds, you know.
Stop the presses. There's the king of diamonds on this board.
My favorite hand.
Just in time. And Xenos, oh wow.
Wow.
You know he's that's what, you know, that's I guess that's a great thing about players that really mix up their play or are very aware of their opponents and their tendencies, because he's pulled out the king free suited free bet earlier, and then the 9-7 offsuit, and then he's got a hand like ace-9, and yeah,
Quietly steps away.
Yeah, I guess he has a certain range of hands in his free bet that he doesn't, you know, if he does have to go to war, he won't be dominated, or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, 3-betting the king 3 suited and then passing on the ace-9 offsuit. I mean, that's kind of why I like kings, because when you have aces, you're blocking all the hands that are going to give you action. But when you have kings, I know people call them the ace magnets, but it's much more likely that you're going to get action when you have kings. So I'm a little surprised to see him elect to 3-bet the king 3 suited versus under gun raise earlier, and then like to pass the ace-9, which would be a much superior hand to 3-bet, considering you have the blocker and just more of a maximum value hand. But the king 3 suited worked out for him. He cracked the aces and made a flush. So it looks like his timing has been pretty impeccable so far at this final table.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely padded his stack from the start and got himself into a nice position going forward. This is disaster, I think, one way or the other. There's no way this money doesn't go in small blind big.
Yeah, this is just super standard. Pretty bad cooler for Sushi to be on the wrong side of here. But he has some chips to survive, so he's going to be about 30 big blinds now. And really, we're seeing a lot of the stacks kind of converge now. So there isn't really a clear short stack. Go Muck Yourself is a little short. But we have plenty of play here, so it should be kind of fun. Certainly when a short stack doubles up, that kind of loosens things up for the other middle stacks, because they don't have the pressure on them ICM-wise as much anymore. Really, it would be a disaster for them to bust before a 13 big blind stack. So that, like I was talking about yesterday, that kind of handcuffs the play a bit. And certainly with the short stack doubling up there, with the rules doubling up, that's going to kind of take the pressure off other people, and we'll get back to playing a little bit more straightforward poker. Maybe we'll see a little more street poker now, because they really couldn't sacrifice their chip position with him so short.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said. And yeah, I guess it's 1-1 now between those two, because Rules obviously had the first big hand he lost was also sort of one of those 50-50 situations, ace king versus the queens, and then Sushi handing some chips back.
It looks like we have another guest who's going to make an appearance. Sam, why don't we get you to go and get a cup of coffee, and in the meantime we'll bring in our special guest, and we'll see you in just a few minutes as well.
Yeah, enjoy.
Thanks.
Thank you to Sam Razavi, who's going to join us a little bit later. But in the meantime, we've got another popular player on the Indian circuit, Sumit Sapra. Welcome to the broadcast.
Hey guys, good to be here.
Well, it's something that we've been talking about all this with the other commentators as well, that it's quite the power-packed final table here with some big names from the circuit being a part of this, going up against each other.
Yeah, this is like a pretty stacked final table with lots of experience and a really good mix of some really great tournament players, one cash game crusher. And apart from one guy, Rules, I think I played a lot with the other five. So I have a pretty good idea of how this is going to go.
So what in your opinion is, from the guys that you do know and that you have played against, who do you sort of, I don't want to use the word dread, but let's just say, who are you a little more wary of when you're sitting down at a table with them?
Yeah, definitely. Raghav Bansal is top of my list here in terms of the player I would be watchful against, and also, be my pick to take this down. But Jagdeep Singh is also like a really good player, but he doesn't play so many tournaments. So he's kind of the unpredictable quantity when it comes to this final table, because I feel like he's going to be putting a lot of pressure on the rest of the guys. And also, I don't think he cares too much about ICM spots. So we could see some interesting in plays, which some of the tournament players might not be willing to make. I think we already saw one hand. I believe that was a blind over blind confrontation, though not UTG plus big blind, as you guys were mentioning, where he limped the king 3 suited and then decided to limp raise against Gokul. Then Gokul had aces. So yeah, that was not a UTG big blind confrontation. I think that was a blind over blind situation. So yeah, so that was a slightly different line from what a Tawny Reg would take there. Mostly opting to call with their suited kings, and play post flop rather than limp raising that hand.
Fair point.
Yeah, it's an interesting candidate for a limp re-raise then. You would normally think that suited hands would just be limp calling there. So
Plus the opponent Gokul didn't really have that big a stack, so he's not raising that wide there when he's raising when you limp in from the small blind. So yeah, it was an interesting play. Worked out for him. Among the other guys, I guess Sushi has obviously ton of experience, both online and live, and he would also be one of my picks to do well in this event for sure. And he also can be aggressive in certain spots.
Yeah, I mean his image, the player image that's above his username, has these two big M's for the millionaire tournaments. Yeah. Maybe one more icon and you'd probably not see his face. And you've got Jagdeep Singh, who's got pocket kings, black kings, on a board of Jack 6-4 against Raghav Bansal's Ace 3 of spades.
Yeah, and he just elects to call pre-flop, right? That's kind of interesting. He's been super active, and I guess he just wants to protect his big blind defend range. He probably knows that Raghav is fairly aggressive. I mean, we already saw Raghav 3-bet like 6-9 offsuit earlier at this final table, so he's definitely getting after it. He has
plus he also feels like Raghav is capable of following up with multiple barrels. So he wants to keep his own range wide as well as stay kind of unpredictable there.
Yeah, it's interesting though. He does elect to check raise the flop, just trying to get stacks in, and gets the snap fold from basically the airball ace high. What do you think about that? Because certainly, if you're defending kings, you're kind of giving some rope to your opponent to hang himself, and you would think that maybe if he's calling pre-flop that he might just call the flop as well, especially with the king of clubs in his hand. There's not that much need for protection. He's only really worried about an ace rolling off, and he's got the backdoor flush draw. He's got the overpair. Do you think that he should continue with just a check call there, or do you think this check raise is just fine?
I think traditionally, continuing with the check call is mostly the optimal line here. But as I mentioned, he always tries to be unpredictable. So just from that standpoint, maybe he feels like Raghav is the sort of guy who might not believe him here when he puts in the race. So he's trying to maybe get more chips into the pot. That might be the only intention behind that check raise.
Yeah, well, I mean, just taking down the pot here, you can see the distance he's put between him and the other stacks. So we have a lot of 10 million stacks here, and he's got position on second in chips. So really, at this point, like he's in complete control. He's in the driver's seat with this chip position, the ICM considerations. The rest of the guys are just all kind of neck and neck there with around 10 million chips, 25 big blinds, and it should be pretty easy for him to implement a nice big stack ICM strategy, just being a little more active with his opening raises and, down betting, kind of like what we saw from Kartik yesterday at the final table when he was navigating the big stack. Just being a little bit more active, a little bit more loose with your opening ranges, maybe not necessarily the traditional GTO ranges, but just knowing that your opponents can't really actualize their EV post-flop in these sort of situations. So it certainly is nice to just win the pots when you're the chip leader, because those are pots that your opponents aren't getting, and that just puts more distance between you and the rest of the field.
True, every pot adds to the edge you have when you're the chip leader. Plus, I feel like he doesn't play that many tournaments. Compared to someone like Kartik, whom we saw yesterday, in terms of volume, he's more of a high stakes cash game player, and that also mostly plays PLO as far as I know. So maybe he's a little bit rusty with his tournament, especially Hold'em game. That could also be a factor. But in general, he's a really good player, and his post-flop game is also like really at a really high level.
Yeah, we see him get a walk there with kings, and Sushi just gives him the walk with the Jack 7 offsuit. And I think that kind of shows just what the ICM situation does. Like, he knows that against a high-stakes cash game player, an experienced player, that limping in the small blind with hands that maybe are on the borderline for traditionally limping, that he's going to get blown off his equity like so much that he just elects to just give him the walk. So that's kind of interesting. You can see that Sushi's probably going to be a little more careful. I think really Sushi can't be opening too many pots right now with him on his left, especially with now go muck yourself sub 20 big blinds, rules getting in the danger zone here too. And we see.
Yeah, I mean, even though all these guys have a ton of experience and a great resume in terms of winnings and cashes, but this is still a fairly significant amount of money they're playing for. So at least the Tony Regs, I expect, will respect ICM. Not so sure about Jagdeep though.
Well, Jagdeep's just eliminated Rules, the former chip leader at this final table, with a set of queens. Rules, who had the biggest stack going in, not able to sustain himself, and he's out in 5th place.
Jagdeep's
pretty
been
interesting pot there. Pretty interesting pot.
hitting a lot of flops.
Yeah, I mean, Xanos 3-bet with the queens there, and we had seen Rules kind of be a little bit splashy before, maybe peeling some hands. I think I saw him peel like Jack 7 suited from the small blind, and decided to not fold the ace deuce suited to the 3-bet. And when you're 25 big blinds, that's a pretty dangerous hand to call with at a position against the chip leader. And then he gets the flop he wants. He flops the overcard, the nut flush draw, but he just runs into it with the top set. So that's a pretty sick hand, punished for calling out a position there. And I'm sure Go Muck Yourself and Raghav are pretty happy with getting the pay jump there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with the kind of money online, we might have talk of a deal soon enough, especially if the stacks are getting shallow, because these guys realize that against each other they don't have that big of a edge. So there might be some talk of a deal soon, especially with now Rules out of the picture. He was the one guy who didn't have the sort of resume or experience that the other guys have. So I'm sure they might talk about a deal soon.
Well, with that, we're going to say goodbye to Sumit Sapra. Thank you so much, Sumit, for joining us on this live stream. It was really good to see you after a fair while, and we hope that we can have a chat with you again in the course of the next couple of days of this FTS series. Thanks once again, Sumit.
Thanks for having me, and I'll continue watching the stream.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Cheers.
And we saw Raghav lose a pretty big pot there. He flopped bottom pair. He had 9-5 on the Queen 9-5-2 spade board. Elected to go for the check raise. Got it in against Go Muck Yourself's nut flush draw, and Go Muck Yourself promptly turned the nut flush, leaving him drawing very slim to just 4 boat outs. So he's now riding 8 big blinds. Is that right? 8 big blinds. And ace-9 versus a button raise is certainly going to be more than enough for him to reshove.
Yep.
And he does get called by the Queen 9 suited. Happy to see that hand. You're not really expecting to get called dominating the 9 too often, but very tough for the Queen 9 suited to call there. Certainly can't blame him with those kind of odds against a 8 big blind reshove. I mean, you can't really fold.
Yeah, he's picked up a little bit of heat as well with another pocket pair of his 6s and scoop some more chips up.
Yep. Yeah, in these 6 max tournaments, I mean, you're going to see the more aggressive players show up at the final tables here. So a cash game player that has a wealth of experience is going to have a big edge on the tighter nits or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
Yeah, they're just nowhere to hide in 6 max. You can't sit there like you could in a full ring. And
yeah, in fact, I think the kind of player profile that you just described, I think all of these players pretty much fit that. And I think these kind of players thrive in an environment like that. So I'm really not surprised to see. Neither is a lot of the poker community who's tuning in to watch this live stream. They're not really surprised to see the kind of players that are there here being a part of this.
Yeah, and we have an interesting hand here. I believe this is just a limp pot, blind versus blind. So you see Shushi just being pretty careful with the king 10. It goes check, check, flop, and then he checks turn with the top pair king. So you can just see him being hyper aware of the ICM considerations. He doesn't want to sacrifice his chip position. He's just going to check and try to induce some bluffs, control the size of the pot. And really a lot more chips could have gone in there with the flop trips, the top pair. In a blind versus blind situation, I think Sushi did a good job losing the bare minimum there. So hats off to him there. That just shows his wealth of experience as well. I mean, of course, he's a bracelet winner, wealth of experience, just, one of India's top players, really, in my opinion. So yeah, I think he played that hand pretty well. Wasn't so worried about extracting value, but protecting his chip stack, which preserves the EV of his situation in the tournament. He doesn't want to get closer to the third and fourth place stacks. So he does lose a pot there and dips below 2 million, but still in a decent position here, four-handed with second and chips. And we're going to see Xenos is just going to start raising a lot of hands here. I mean, like A7, any ace, any blocker. I mean, these guys just like can't check call and like actualize their EV as much as they would hope to because of just the ICM pressure. I mean, that really is going to dictate a lot of the play here. I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but the ICM considerations are just so real. They dictate the play and the ranges so much. So I think we're going to really see him opening up. And here we have Raghav on the cutoff with ace jack. We're certainly going to see a raise here and a likely defend out of Xenos in the big blind to the min raise with the jack 10 offsuit. Yeah, it should be interesting. Let's see. Maybe a jack comes, but nope. Xenos has flopped the top pair, backdoor flush draw, and the same gut shot that Raghav has here. I think that this sort of board is a pretty standard check back as pre-flop raiser that's just all over the big blind defend range. And you have plenty of equity still with 2 overs in the gutter. You just don't want to get check raised and blown off that equity. I think we'll likely see a bet and a fold here on the turn. Xenos electing to go with about 60% pot here, which I think is pretty reasonable. I think you're kind of indifferent between 50% and like 2/3 or something like that. I mean, you could even go like up to 75 on this sort of wet board. And I really have a hard time seeing how Raghav can continue here.
Yeah,
So
just that little level of protection that needs to go in, and well, that's the end of that hand.
Yeah, you definitely want to size up on those sort of boards. There's just so many draws out there. Pair gut shots, pair straight draws, so I think that's pretty reasonable by him. And now we're seeing max pressure applied. So folds to him in the small blind. He just rips the queen 7 suited. I think that's pretty reasonable play. We get the snap fold from Raghav. And it should be kind of fun here when we see these trash hands. I think it's a lot of fun seeing the guys battle with napkins a lot of the time, And here we're just seeing absolute garbage. So Go Muck Yourself, I'm sure, is very happy to get the walk with the 5 deuce offsuit there.
That's true. I especially like watching tables where you have such good players being a part of it. And I'm even more interested in the way they play those garbage hands, so to speak. Just gives you a little bit more of an insight into what they're thinking about not only the hand that they have, but about the opponents who are around them.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it would be super interesting to see some of these guys battling in the early stages of the tournament.
Right.
Oftentimes we watch these final table streams, and the play is so much dictated by the ICM considerations. It's not really an accurate representation of how the tournament plays out and what six max is like the rest of the time. When the final table first start, we saw guys getting after it, 3-betting. Limp re-raising the king 3 suited, 3-betting the 9-7 offsuit, the 9-6 offsuit, and that's like a small window into the way these six max tournaments actually work. Most of the time, you see guys really getting after it, but when you have the ICM considerations, it's just like the play is going to be a little bit less creative. So certainly, it's still fun to watch because we're playing for the big money now, but it's a little bit. The play is always going to be a little bit handcuffed because people are looking to make the pay jumps. That's the only way we make money in this game, in this tournament game, is by achieving pay jumps. So it'll be interesting to see. I see Sushi kind of locking it down right now. It seems like Go Muck Yourself is pretty much locking it down, and the real battle here is going to be between Raghav and Xenos until Raghav either doubles or busts, and then the dynamic will change a bit.
Well, I'm happy to say that we have one more special guest who's joining us on the stream. He's been on a few final tables himself across the world, in fact, and happy to welcome Kunal Patni within this live stream of the FTS. Kunal, welcome, and thank you for joining us, man.
Hi, Peter. Thanks a lot for having me as a guest commentator. I love the fact that, we'll be able to see a little bit of the final table, which is star-studded. And with two amazing commentators, Sam and Kevin, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've been seeing some very interesting hands, and I think both Sam and Kevin will agree that there's not much to choose between the guys who are remaining now. Perhaps the edge lies, like Kevin just mentioned, with the toss-up between Xenos and Raghav. But none of these players are going anywhere anytime soon.
So I haven't followed it. So how many people are left now?
We're now down to the final 4 players. We've got Aditya Sushant, who's just under 2 million in chips. We've got Go Muck Yourself, Sajal Gupta with 1.3 mil. We've got Xenos with 3.7. He's leading the table right now on the counts. And Raghav Bansal has the shortest stack with 6.94.
Oh, so it's fantastic 4 left in the end. You can never count Aditya Sushant out of India's first bracelet winner and a fantastic player. Sajal Gupta has been doing extremely well in the live circuit and online circuit. Xenos is, if I'm not mistaken, Jagdeep Singh, who's recently did very well in the IPC live tournament. The last one which we had a very deep run in the main event. And Raghav obviously has been killing it online on a lot of sites recently. So it's going to be a lot of fun watching these 4 play.
Yeah, Go Muck Yourself is definitely a name I recognize from some other places too. It's a pretty clever screen name. If I got to hand him to that, that's pretty good.
Oh yes, some of the names on Indian sites are really nice and funny, innovative ones. It's a lot of fun watching some of those names.
And then there are the not so nice and really not so funny names, which there's way more of. But yeah, it's a little bit clever what Sajal has done with his username.
Yeah, pretty interesting pot here. Go Muck Yourself bets the turn with the deuce gets the call by sevens on the ace jack 9-9 board, and then sevens just hits the 7 of diamonds on the river, one of my favorite cards. And we're going to see the check fold, obviously, from the deuces here. With the backdoor flush draw completing, I'm sure he was hoping he'd get a little more action there with the river full house, but I think pretty interesting turn call there with sevens. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
So who was the one who? I'm sorry, I obviously have not been able to see the action live.
Yeah,
so.
Go Muck Yourself opened from cutoff /UTG. Sushi flatted button with sevens, jack 9-9, check, turn ace of diamonds, bring in a backdoor flush draw, bet, call from Sushi. I think that's pretty optimistic call in my mind. But obviously he is right, so maybe he knows there's something I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Sushi is always going to make one call on that turn because ace is obviously the best card for Go Muck Yourself to take a stab at the pot. He's always he's the one who has a lot of aces over there. So he's always taking one shot at the turn, and Sushi probably just wants to see what happens on the river. And if obviously there was no 7 on the river and there was another bet coming, he would have folded his sevens. But I think it's pretty standard. He would be calling one street given the fact that the flop went check.
Yeah, I guess he has enough queen high and king highs in his range, but I would just kind of assume that he would be c-betting his king high and queen highs in that position. Maybe I'm wrong there. Jack 9-9 is probably just an always check board to the flatter.
That's true. Yeah, he should be c-betting all his king highs and queen highs. That's right.
Yeah, I get a little worried like when they check. You know, like to me, it's. I know maybe the solver's like just always checking the jack 9-9 board to the flatter, but I just get like a little worried that they have some sort of showdown value when they're checking. But I guess these guys are pretty familiar with each other, so I just found that pot kind of interesting. I think a lot of more casual players would just snap fold the sevens there, having 3 overcards to their pair, and potentially getting bluffed on the river by those king high and queen high hands that you are ahead of.
That's true, Kevin, and also the fact that you said most of us, we play so much against each other across various sites that we have a fair idea of the gameplay of the people involved. So I'm sure you, over the course of the last 2-3 final tables that you've commentated, you would have seen a lot of folds and calls which would have actually surprised you quite a bit. But I assume a lot of it actually has to do with the fact that we've played with each other so much, so we know the game, and we kind of so there's a lot of background to some of the calls being made, which will probably not be understood by somebody who's just looking at it in an isolated manner.
Yeah. Well, we did see Raghav double there. Right.
Sorry to cut you in, guys. We're going to have to let go of you, KP, but the Trill lockdown treating you okay?
Oh yeah, it's been a good time period for me. The lockdown, it's been super busy for us because of all the sites have had some fantastic tournaments, and we've been very, very busy taking part in so many of these tournaments, and the lockdown has been the busiest period for most of us. So it's been good fun.
Fantastic. Always awesome to hear that. Thank you so much to Kunal Patni for joining us. Take care, man. It was a pleasure to have you on the live stream.
Thank you so much, and I'm hoping that I'm there on the final table of the main event there, and you guys are commentating on my play, and you guys are saying good things about me.
Well, Sam isn't here, Sam Razavi isn't here, but I'm sure he'd go, yeah. So from all of us, thanks so much, Kunal. We'll see you on the other side.
Thanks a lot.
And speaking of the man himself, where is Sam Razavi? That coffee's taking awfully long here. Well, Sam will be joining us shortly to see this hand that's happening between Xenos holding King 6 versus the Ace 8 of That's So Sick. Sam, welcome back.
Aha! How's it going? Okay.
You just missed Kunal Patni. He said hi, and
I've been missing Kunal Patni for months now. I haven't seen him for a long time, so I always miss him. But I keep up with his. He's now a Hollywood TikTok star, I believe, isn't he? So
yeah, he's been putting out some content on the platform, and pretty fun too, with a lot of those mini videos that are going up there.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, just before you joined us, we did see Raghav get a double through Sushi. He basically raised to commit himself the ace-6 suited. Sushi looked him up with the ace-8, and he made the nut flush. So we have a double here, and we have now Go Muck Yourself and That's So Sick. Kind of similar stack situations. So the ICM pressure is now a little bit more off of Go Muck Yourself. So it'll be interesting to see how he opens up his game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. 'Cause I was following it for a bit, and then Raghav was down to around 5-6 million, right? Or 5-6, yeah. And so they're all sort of waiting to see if they could sweep Raghav under the rug, and he's got himself sort of back into it. So
yeah, alligator blood, right? Hard to get this guy off the table. I'm sure they're all rooting for the ace-8 there to get the pay jumps, and then also have a super tough player, very capable player get off the table as well. But he wasn't letting it happen. Got there with the ace-6. So suited though.
Yeah. Oh, suited. Well, that's whenever I hit the King of Diamonds always pops up. As soon as I 5-10 minutes into doing any commentary review, the King of Diamonds is there for support, moral support for you. I think I don't know what it is, but he's there.
Yeah, interesting. He just elects to limp here with the Kings. I find that pretty interesting. I mean, it's pretty good hand to include in your limping range because you just induce so much action from ace-X, and you're not blocking those hands that might want to isolate you or shove on you. So I like that, actually. If you're going to do a limping strategy, you want to be balanced in your limps and having some top range hands that aren't blocking the best hands your opponent can have. Certainly Kings would be one of the best candidates for that. So I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting to note that Xenos is obviously quite aware that was strength rather than speculation, because he's definitely in that sort of position that he can apply pressure to and punish the limping, but he wasn't having any of that.
Yeah, we have a pretty interesting pot here. So I think a pretty standard limp with the suited queen and the small blind. Go Muck Yourself elects to check back the King 9 on 20 big blinds, which I think is fine. I think you can kind of implement a mixed strategy there, and obviously he's just trying to be a little careful. And we get a really sick flop here with Raghav flopping top and bottom, and Go Muck Yourself flopping the middle pair. It'd be interesting to see if he gets a little stubborn here with the good kicker. I would expect he would.
Yeah, and
pretty quick shove on the river. What do you make much of timing tells when you're playing online, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, usually, I mean it's Raghav, so he's probably also aware of that, and often the instant jam is sort of, in my mind anyway, representative of a bluff. But I think Raghav also probably knows that, and
yeah, well,
there you go.
He that was kind of my suspicion too, and he does get the call off there from the middle pair. So we will see Go Muck Yourself exit in 4th place. But yeah, that's kind of my thinking there, is like when you shove so quickly on a Queen 10, 3 deuce, 2 heart board, there's a lot of draws that miss, Jack 10s and heart draws and such. I think that he did shove there quickly quite intentionally to make it look a bit more bluffy, and it worked. So but yeah, very interesting spot. I get a little conflicted sometimes about what exactly those quick shoves mean. If it is in fact a bluff, I think that's the traditional thinking. But he's a pretty clever player, so you got to think he's not necessarily operating on level 1. He's up there, in another level in the atmosphere. And I think that he was kind of doing that to, try to get him to be called a little bit lighter. And I can't really blame him for calling with the King 9 there. The maximum value on the hand is pretty decent, and there are a lot of draws that miss, but it's almost like a reverse tell to a certain extent. It's like, why is this guy shoving so fast? I mean, he's a good player and I respect him. So, yeah, really just a gross spot to be in with the King 9 there.
Yeah, it was fairly sick. But you know, as you said, when you call the turn, you know, when that brick rolls off on the river, and especially against Raghav, I mean, he can be just doing that with just, you know, it's not that he doesn't, not that he never has a hand, but you can legitimately be well ahead of his range there.
Right. Well, that's the nice thing about having an aggressive image, right? Is you can choose when to turn it up or turn it down, and then your opponents are left guessing while you have, you know, more information about what you're doing. So, yeah, it's nice when you have that reputation, and certainly we've seen he's been getting after it at this final table. So, yeah, I just find it's nice when you have that image. I mean, I know I've had that image in the past where, you know, I've had some hands that were televised where people are like, oh, this guy's crazy, and then secretly I'm a nit, so a lot of people don't know that. And if you play with me online a lot, I think it's pretty easy to figure out after a certain amount of time. I usually have it, but boy, I loved having that image from that was just a crazy 3-better and 5-better, and you know, could call it off light and stuff like that. So it's nice when you have that, because you can just turn it off and on when you want.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things of having all those early televised games, because, you know, people see that 1 or 2 hands, and, you know, they've based your judgment, their judgment of how you play off of those crazy hands that have been televised for a reason, obviously. And yeah, that's really, yeah, it's definitely advantageous for you.
Yeah, not so bad. So the kind of interesting pot here, Raghav opens ace-10 suited on the button, Xenos with the automatic peel, and the big blind with the king 10, small bet on the 6-3-3 board, the float out of position with the king high. I believe the turn went check, and then we see Raghav value betting the ace high with the double board pair. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was probably hoping that Raghav's, you know, very, very aware of, you know, his hand strength, and I think it's a very straightforward value bet, and given how experienced Xenos is and his pause at the end, I actually thought he was considering calling with the king high, but yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward. I think perhaps if Raghav hadn't picked up the nut flush draw on the turn, maybe he would have just continued barreling. But
kind of seems interesting, the bet check bet line with the ace high. You're basically just like putting him on an out of position float, you know, and hoping to extract value from the high card hands, which is it's, you know, he ranged him correctly, so, you know, but it seems a little bit optimistic to me. And then here we have a pretty sick setup here with the blind versus blind battle. Xenos opening for the 3.5x from the small blind with the 7s. Predicate that with his very aggressive image, 3-betting from the big blind, a bit smaller of a 3-bet than we'd normally see, a little bit less than 3x, or is that's 5.9 or 6.9?
5.9.
Right. So I think that's probably just a standard size here anyways, but it'll be interesting to see if Xenos elects to call or jam, and he elects to fold. So I don't know if there's a sizing tell going on there or something, but I can't imagine folding 7s to 3-bet there.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't fold, and when I'm against a player like Raghav, and sometimes it's easy to just blanket say, well, I'm never folding this. I'm just never folding anything. But given the situation, you know, and the fact that Raghav, you know, has picked up momentum as well after dropping to like 6 million, I would have been inclined to maybe get it in. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I would fold.
I think the technical term is Jedi mind tricks.
Well, I mean, he had some. He must have been using some sort of supernatural power there because folding sevens blind versus blind just seems so tough. And obviously, it was an excellent fold knowing the cards. But I am just really surprised by that. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I would think it would at least warrant a call. I mean, he's going to have a fair amount of bluffs. He's going to have a lot of overcards that you're flipping against. And I mean, unless you have a stone cold read that he just has the overpair, that's really the only way I think you can legitimize like folding. And then he just has it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, you saying that, I was just thinking, if I was Raghav looking back on that stream, I'd be spooked. But when I see I had the jacks, and I'm like, oh, he's just time banked for a bit and folded. I'd be spooked that he's actually folded the sevens. I'd be like, what do they know about me? What's going on? That's interesting.
Yeah, very surprising.
Yeah, so you see these kind of hands occasionally on these poker broadcasts, and it still doesn't get old. Every time you see someone folding like that in those positions, and especially at this stage of the tournament.
Yeah. This is interesting. They both have a straight draw.
Limped pot. They both have the same straight draw. Raghav with the better high card hand and the backdoor flush draw, plus the better straight draw. If the jack comes in, he'll have the 8 to queen straight instead. And we are seeing a double barrel here out of Xenos. It's kind of an interesting double barrel here, especially fairly small. I guess he just doesn't want to check call and wants to name his turn price with his draw. Now, I would think he's pretty obligated to bluff here now that everything's bricked off. But you do have an opponent that's just called you twice. So, we do see him check, which I find is pretty interesting. And the queen high just checks back the winner. Feels like found money.
Well, the stacks are pretty much almost even between these three final players on this Highroller final table at the FTS. Anyone's game, gentlemen. Literally anyone's game.
Yeah, do you think we're going to see a deal happen here?
Well, Sumit Sabra alluded to it a little bit earlier that these guys, they know each other and they know their playing styles and, well...
You know something that we don't know.
Jedi mind tricks.
I bow to you, sir. That was a superlative display of mind reading. Well, I think I can see in the chat box that it says super user wins 2.88 and there's nothing much after that. But it's very possible that there is a deal that's going on. We're going to check with the game support team right now and just confirm that that is the case.
Yeah, it's really interesting because from what I understand, you can chop the money, but you can't chop the leaderboard points, right? And all the stacks are super similar.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see who gets the title and who gets the points,
I was talking about this the other day. I mean, sub the leaderboard points, you can't chop that gold medallion, can you? Like, that's what I want. I want to see what it looks like. But
Sam wants to do like a Flavor Flav big heavy chains with that gold medallion around his neck.
What you talking about, fool? Yeah, it's
Oh my. All right, still waiting on an update from the game team, but we should know it's quite likely that a deal has happened. We're just waiting on final confirmation.
Yeah, if anything would be holding it up, I would think it would be the negotiation over the points and the title because all of their stacks were just so similar. So I'm not sure if they can do some sort of chop and then still play it out for the points, but it's a huge advantage for whoever is the chip leader right now because they're a chip leader by a very narrow amount. And if they get those points and they get the gold medallion, that's a nice little overlay for them for making the deal. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of the players was mentioned that, because that's a fairly important consideration as this tournament series goes on. You want to get those leader points, and you want to have a chance at that big first prize for the leaderboard. Definitely something that all the players should have in the back of their mind as they enter the final table and then eventually enter deal negotiations.
Well, and just as Kevin McPhee says that, we do get confirmation, and yes, by a very, very slender margin of just about 20-odd thousand in chips, Aditya Sushant, aka Super User, has claimed the title in this tournament, and he takes home just about 21 lakh rupees for his win. So it was a really, really tight finish. I beg your pardon, the chip difference was about 75-odd thousand in chips. That was the difference between Aditya Sushant and Raghav Bansal takes second place with 20.78 lakhs. And of course, Xenos is the guy who finishes and rounds off the third place position with 20.49 lakhs. So yes, a deal has been made, gentlemen, and all of these players, the final three of this high roller event, go home with pretty much in the neighborhood of the same figure for about 20-odd lakhs. Not a bad way to sort of spend a Saturday evening collecting a prize like that.
Yeah, it's a big result for all three players. I think Sushi just kind of stole the title away there in the last hand, right? He got the 3-bet through with the Jack-8 suited, and he's like, boom, I win.
Slid it in there just at the right time, and that's a pretty fortuitous bet that Sushant has put out there. And well, congratulations to Aditya Sushant, and indeed the other two players as well, because there was really nothing between any of their stacks. So it's just one of those luck of the draw things that I guess we can attribute this to.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see actually how the deal negotiation went down, because knowing that these players, if it was literally a straightforward Sushi's going to win, I probably would have said shuffle up and deal. Let's go. Right.
Yep.
I think I agree with you there. Yeah.
I would have said you must be joking. I mean, there was I don't know if I've got time for anecdotes, but yeah, there was a tournament, and basically down to the final, one of these deep stacks in Vegas, and my brother was playing, and they sat around 6 a.m. to discuss a deal. They usually chop it 6 ways, don't they? And then one guy had a lead of one big blind, and he wanted an extra 5k. He said, but I've got an extra 400,000 chips, or whatever it was. The blinds were so huge. They said, yeah, but it's one big blind. And he couldn't understand it. And they had to shuffle up and deal until someone raised his big blind, and he folded. And then he realised that it really didn't mean that much. He said, oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Well, tales of poker from around the world, courtesy Sam Razavi. We've got a pretty exciting tournament that has just come to an end. The 128 entries that took part in this high roller event, putting up that buy-in of 80,000 rupees, got together a prize pool of 1.17 crores. And it was finally down to 6 players. This was a 6-max event, of course. And the who's who, I would say, of the domestic poker circuit here in India were on that final table. And nothing much between the last 3 players to choose from. But yes, maybe that slight slice of luck that all poker players would aspire to get wherever they go, going Aditya Sushant's way in this instance. And well, Super User is the super winner for this particular tournament. I think that's about all that we have for this live stream. I would like to thank Kevin McPhee and Sam Razavi for joining us in this FTS High Roller event. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll get to see and do more of this with perhaps another loaded final table, as it were, tomorrow evening when we bring you another live coverage from this FTS series, courtesy of the India Poker Championship and SpartanPoker.com. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. And to our viewers, good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.